My name is Amy Asper, and I did my internship at Rigby Middle School with the school counselors. Finding the internship. So there's a lot of searching, phone calling, visiting that goes into finding the internship. It took me probably just over a month to find an internship. I started with the school website, and I'm going to click on this and show you where exactly I went. This is where I started, and I looked at the previous internships that have been done, and then from there I went and just changed the criteria of what I was looking for. I wanted a paid internship, and so I filtered it by that. Of course, by home and family, because that is our major. And then I knew we would be staying in Idaho, because that's where my husband is. And that's pretty much what I got. So from there, I just looked at those and started down the list, seeing what looked interesting to me, what looked like a feasible job that I could do. There was really not a lot on this list, so it turned out to be not that helpful. After I kind of narrowed my criteria, I realized that that didn't really matter, so I kind of threw that out the window and just Googled home and family, Idaho Falls, Rigby, those kinds of things. And then I thought about, I had heard about someone doing school counseling as their internship before, and I've worked in a school before. I really liked working in a school, and I've thought about either school counseling or marriage and family counseling. So those are kind of my two ideal jobs. So I was like, well, why not try a school? So I called a bunch of different school districts to see if any of them were taking counseling interns at the time. I talked to the secretary, the principal's secretary, and she set up an interview with the principal. And so then I went in for this interview, and it was all kind of very weird because it worked out that the counselor that I was going to be interning came into the office, so we all three were in the office, and the principal said, well, this is Amy, and she's the intern, and I would like us to have her. And so that was the first the counselors had even heard that there was a possibility of me coming, and I was just kind of automatically, quote-unquote, hired on, even though I wasn't being paid. So from there, then it was just the paperwork, making sure that I had all the right information from the school, that they had my information, that we got everything set up with Career Navigator, with the internship people at the advising center at BYU Idaho, and then it was kind of that was it. So some of my responsibilities were, I worked with a group of students that failed one or more class, one-on-one. So that was kind of cool, because at Rigby Middle School, the way it works is if you fail more than 3 classes, you automatically have to do summer school, and then if you fail more than that, then you will have to repeat, depending on which classes you failed. There is a system intact at Rigby Middle School that if you fail, or if you have failed 3 classes, then you do get more help. There's someone trained to work with you one-on-one. But for those people that had failed just 1 or more class or 2 classes, no one was there to help them yet. So students weren't getting help until it was kind of too late. So the counselors really wanted me to step up and try and get these students before there was a big issue. So it was pretty cool that I got the chance to work with a couple of them pretty closely, at least once a week, a couple times a week. One student who, he would fall asleep in class, and he would just sleep through his entire classes. And so when I started working with him, he would actually stay awake, and he was alert, and we were able to get work done. And it was really cool to see that I could have an impact on this kid's life, because he was making the changes he needed to. The principal, all his teachers didn't believe that I could keep him awake, and so that was pretty cool. Working with those students, I got to build a little bit of a relationship with them and understand their situations a little more. And the other big responsibility that I had was to help with registration. And that's a big process that the counselors have to do, and I didn't even realize that school counselors are in charge of that, but they not only put together like the student schedule, but they put together the teacher's schedule and like the day schedule of how long classes are, how many classes there are, and then they do each individual student, so they pick every class for every student. So it's a lot more work than I thought it would be for some reason. So I helped them put together those packets and pass those out to the students, explain to the students how to fill out the packets, and then get the packets back, organize them all out, then alphabetize them so that they're ready to be put into the system so that the counselors can actually create their schedule. So the benefit to the site was that I was able to be that help that otherwise would not have been received there. Those students don't have any other programs to help them, so I was able to be that benefit. And I helped minimize the work and time spent on registration. The counselors have a million things that they have to do, and so I made registration that much easier for them. And then I was also able to make connections with some of the students. They also had a lunch group of students that would come in during lunch, and I was able to get to know some of them and be that other adult or someone they can talk to, and just at least say hi to, be that smile that they need to see, and of course make the connections with the one-on-one students that I worked with. So it was a benefit to me because I really did get a better understanding of what school counselors do and what they deal with on a daily basis, because before I didn't understand all of the things that they are required to do as a school counselor, and all of the things that then kind of get put on them as school counselors. They are next in line of administration, like below the principal and vice principal. So if anytime the vice principal and principal aren't there, the counselors are then who are in charge of the school. So anytime there's a situation that needs to be handled with, the counselors have to do that stepping up. The main thing was that it did help me make the decision between private practice and school counseling. I've been worried about private practice just because there is such a huge burden that comes along with that, and I was afraid that it would be too much to handle, that I wouldn't be able to keep going, I would get burnt out. But with school counseling, you not only do the counseling, you get to help those students, you get to see that result and that change, hopefully, but you're doing a million other things, and so your mind's not constantly being dragged down or burnt out. And I also really saw the impact that I can have with those few students that I worked with, and so that was really cool. And for the recommendation, it really is yes and no for me on this one. I would say yes, if you are deciding between private and school counseling, I would say yes, this is perfect, because you really do get an inside look on school counseling. It was a very simple internship, it was enjoyable, I got along with the counselors really well, I thought it was rewarding to work with students. I would say no if you knew you wanted to do a private practice or something else with marriage and families. I would not choose this internship. The other thing is, it was really hard to try and implement our major into it because we're not allowed to sit in with the students while the counselors are counseling them. So I really didn't get to use a lot of our education, the stuff that we've learned. I was not able to put into this internship. And obviously, if you want to be paid, this is not the way to go. And if you want that bigger rewards or more rewards from it, then I would say no. So here's the contact information. The principal for Rigby Middle School is Sherry Simmons, and the phone number to contact them is 208-745-6674. And then I just have Kim Asbell's email because that's who I was interning. She's one of the counselors. The other counselor is Devin Johnson, but her email is kazbill@sd251.org. So that's my internship at Rigby Middle School.